As you may have noticed, starting from yesterday on Sunday, I haven't posted a live stream or long format content because I'm posting regular, let's say, updates and analysis and commentaries from the situation in Syria. So instead of putting everything in one, let's say, long format, I am doing shorter videos, like 10-minute video, 5-minute video, probably 20-minute video maximum. And I'm going to post regularly starting from this week just because of the emergency situation in Syria, where al-Julani's gangs are still on a free spree of mass murder of the religious and ethnic minorities in different governorates, especially in the coastal cities Latakia, Jable, Banyas, and even Homs and other places. So I received today an information from a reliable source. Now, I'm not endorsing it. However, it is highly likely that this report is accurate. And this is coming from a Greek member of European Parliament. His name is Nicholas Farantouris, and he is a member of the European Parliament's Committee on Security Defense. And he visited Syria on August the 8th and 9th. So 2 days he visited Syria just before and during these atrocities against the religious minorities. And he says that 7,000 civilians from the Christian and Alawite communities have been slaughtered in Syria in the past days. And this is his statement. As a member of the Security and Defense Committee, the Constitutional Affairs Committee, and the Budgets Committee of the European Parliament, I paid a 2-day visit to Damascus on 8 and 9 March at invitation of the Patriarch. On Sunday of Orthodoxy, I attended the service of the Patriarchal Church together with Greek Orthodox Patriarch John X of Antioch, and we had a long private meeting on the developments. I then met with representatives of national and religious communities, while I also visited the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the new regime and spoke with heads of international and European affairs. He says, quote, "Reliable data indicates 7,000 Christians and Alawites slaughtered and unprecedented atrocities against civilians. Christians and other communities with a millennial presence in this region are at risk of extinction." He continues saying, "The new Islamic regime is leading Syria into an Islamic state and is claiming that it cannot control the paramilitaries and the gangs associated with them who attack innocent civilians." He continues saying, Patriarch John X made a shocking appeal yesterday, Orthodox Sunday, to stop the bloodshed, while in our private meeting he pointed out the tragic shortages of food and medicine that Christians are facing. He says, "I call on the Greek government and the governments of EU member states to act now. Neither Greece nor the EU can continue to show tolerance and be limited to ceremonial visits and courtesies with the Islamic regime for investments and businesses, while thousands of civilians are being slaughtered with its acquiescence, if not its guidance. Measures must be taken here and now before it is entirely too late." I don't want to disappoint you, Mr. Member of European Parliament from Greece, but the European Union issued a statement basically siding with Al-Qaeda gangs and blaming the Assad regime remnants for all the killings that happened in the past days in Syria. Now we have al-Julani claiming that he formed an independent national committee to investigate the recent events in Syria's coastal region, and he says that they're going to publicize later the results of his investigation. And this type of things reminds me of Israel when they say they're going to investigate themselves about tragic events that happened in Gaza, but we later don't hear anything from these investigations because the people will forget about it and new atrocities will happen, which will definitely erase or, let's say, come over the previous atrocities and memories in the minds of the people. However, we found out, thanks to one of the Syrian activists, who was, by the way, very anti-Assad, Rami Jarrah, he found an old post for one of the members of this committee who is going to investigate these atrocities in the coastal cities. and apparently this guy is, again, a sectarian fanatic. And he has a post from 2015. Basically, he's mocking the minorities. And Rami says, a member of the National Committee appointed by Shara, he calls him Shara, his Jolani, to investigate the recent events in the coastal region, previously expressed resentment toward minorities in a 2015 post. Such a person cannot be trusted to act impartially and must be disqualified. He says, I agree with him, and this is the English translation, as you can see on the screenshot. He says, minorities will remain dancing at the altar of the majority, claiming guarantees. He thinks that all the war that happened in Syria was about the minority waging a war against the majority in his sick, rotten Muslim Brotherhood and Takfiri mind. And therefore he thinks that this is like they were trying to wage a war against the majority because they wanted guarantees for their presence and for their rights in the region. And however, he believes that they will lose this cause, and this case is they will fail, let's say, in this cause, according to him, because the majority at the end will emerge victorious. This is one of the guys who will investigate these atrocities in the coastal cities of Syria. So I'm not sure about you, but I have not much of hope in him. So we have people, by the way, on X. They are active 24/7 nowadays in order to whitewash the crimes of Jolani and trying to do whataboutism and Tusaidism and bringing the issue of Assad regime remnants and Assadists who are fighting against the police. Now, all of a sudden, we have government forces, we have security forces belonging to a government, but under Assad, they were all called Assad militias or Assad's army, etc. But all of a sudden, we have people like Owen, who never disappoints us with his low IQ comments about Syria, which I believe the repetition of such comments, despite putting facts in front of him, probably he knows the truth, but he is lying to you. And he says, there is no question that the Islamist extremists have massacred Alawite civilians in Syria's coastal regions, which are heinous war crimes, which must be punished. But that came after Assadist elements launched attacks, killing over 200 Syrian forces. Now the Jolani gangs have become Syrian forces, but under Assad, they were Assad forces. And killing over 200, this is not true. There were only 15 casualties among these Nusra terrorists in the coastal parts of Syria. And of course, he's doing Tusaidism, trying to say like Assad regime was committing these same crimes every single day. Like, can you believe this guy? Like, myself, I've seen a few videos, horrendous war crimes committed by the Syrian army in the past. Those were probably 3 or 4 major events, and we have all condemned it and we called for accountability for it. However, the nature of the ISIS, Nusra, and these Takfiri elements in the coastal line, they're not differentiating between people from a political point of view. They're judging you based on your identity. Once you open your eyes and you find yourself a Christian, let's say, or an Alawite or a Shiite, he is giving himself the permission to kill you based on that. This is pure terrorism that he doesn't mention. So there are so many people, of course, are very upset with him and bashing him in the comments, but I don't think that he will change his mind because he's pathetic and big liar. We have a video of him basically on The Guardian, and this was recorded 9-10 years ago when he was justifying ISIS basically. And in this video, just to summarize you quickly, he says something like, there's Sunnis in Syria, they trust ISIS more than they trust Assad. This is what he literally said. And rest assured, when ISIS was expanding, the vast majority of the Sunni people escaped to the Assad regime areas. Why is that is the case? If they had no fear from ISIS, why did they escape from the ISIS held areas into the areas controlled by the government? Because the 70 to 80% of the people used to live under the Assad government, let's say regions, which he had two-thirds of the control over the territories. The rest were living with the Kurds, which is safe. and the vast majority in Syrian-held territories, why didn't they go to the ISIS-held areas and live there? And why there were no mass influx of Sunni, let's say, people basically leaving Aleppo, Damascus, Homs, and Hama and going to Raqqa when the Islamic State used to occupy? If that is the case, Mr. Owen Jones, these guys are completely retarded when it comes to, sorry for the terminologies, when it comes to politics of Syria. They know nothing about the war, or they know well and they're doing some dirty, shady work. Take a look to this video of Owen Jones just at the end of this video. It's going to be 1 minute, and I will see if I will post another update today. I'm just promising you regular videos like this one daily in the next few days. Let's see how the situation ends up in Syria, and accordingly I decide when I'm going to come back to the live streamings. Peace be upon you, and peace be upon the Syrian people. Salam.
But regrettably, our efforts to enforce regime change in other countries have made things worse rather than better.
But the issue surely is that the Sunni population, who constitute the majority in Syria, they fear Assad more than they fear ISIS, and it's very difficult to see how you can have a peaceful resolution to this horrific, sickening civil war unless you have a government that has the confidence of the Sunnis. Otherwise, they won't love ISIS, but they'll prefer to stick with him rather than